Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. We're going to go over a high-level overview of the Pixnub plugin for the background swapper. So let's get started. Welcome everyone. Today we're going to go over the Pixnub plugin for the background swapper. If you haven't heard of Pixnub before, it is a suite of Photoshop plugins that can help streamline your automation post-processing for volume photography. Photo Day Zombies is really all about streamlining your workflow. And if you're doing your own post-processing, Pixnub is a no-brainer. Phenomenal suite of tools. We're just going to touch on the background swapper today. It's a very easy to use, probably best used for school volume photography. If you extract all of your students out of the background, if you shoot them on a plain background, you extract them. Using this tool, you can easily superimpose those extractions onto a number of backgrounds without ever having to lift a finger. So rather than having to take each image, drop it on 5 backgrounds, save it off 5 times, this is all automated. So as long as you do all of your preparatory work, this will run beautifully. And you're not limited to how many backgrounds or how many extractions you're going to have. It is for every image and every background, it does put on every one. So for example, if you have 5 extractions and you have 5 backgrounds, for each extraction, it's going to put them on each of those 5 backgrounds and save them off. So 5 times 5, you're going to end up with 25 different images in the end. Very simple math. However, there are a few caveats when using the background swapper, which we're going to cover here. Main thing you really want to understand with the background swapper, it is not a smart tool. It will not center your image, and it will not know what you want the final image to look like. All it knows is I have an extraction and I have a background. It will literally line them up and put it on there. So if you have your background here and you have a player or your student is a little bit off-centered, like over here, that's where it's going to put it. You need to make sure that your images are exactly how they need to be for your finished product. And I'm going to go over all that. So let's get started with something very simple. Let's take a look at the extractions first. For the full-size image, this particular little demo shows these are my extractions. This is a regular PNG. You can see that the person, my subject, is not cropped to the image. There's a lot of blank space around. All right, and then we're going to take a look at the backgrounds that we want to put them on. Our backgrounds are visually very nice. I shoot sports, so that's why we're kind of looking at sports. But to show this tool, and exactly, you can probably guess what's going to happen. It's going to take our extraction, it's going to put it on there, and I'm going to end up with all this empty space around. So let's just go ahead and dive into it. You know, hearing me talk about it's one thing, but you really need to see it to really understand. So again, Pixnub is a suite of Photoshop plugins. So I have Photoshop installed here, and I have the plugins installed here. The latest plugins are going to be installed through the Adobe Creative Cloud, the installer. And so they will show up under the plugins panel. So when you click on background swapper tool, you're going to come up with this panel right here. To make background swapper work, there's only 3 things you need to do. You need to select your cutouts, and you need to select the backgrounds, and then where you want to save it. After that, you can just run the batch and go about your day. And it's going to do all the heavy lifting for you. So for our cutouts, we're looking at the full size. So I've selected the folder where all my full size extractions are. I have my background folder. I got my folder here. This is where my backgrounds are that I want to take those extractions and put them on. So let's go ahead and select that folder. And then where do I want to save everything? I want to save everything to an export folder. I want it to be saved in a JPEG, quality 12. That's the max quality. That's how I want everything. Personally, I like to add the background name. And what it does, it saves the original PNG name, and it's just going to append either a number after it or the background name. I prefer the background name. Whatever your workflow works best for you, but you get two different options here. And then it's going to save in the sRGB color space. So let's go ahead and run the batch. And you see how fast it is. I mean, it's already done with 2 images. Now it's done with 4 images, and it's working on more. It's already on 4 of 5 extractions, 5 of 5 extractions. And each time it loads that extraction, it is placing it on each background that I have in that folder. All right, so now let's go look at our export folder and see what we got to work with. So here's our 10 items. I have, for each extraction, I had 2 backgrounds. So 2 times 5, we got 10. But remember my extraction that I showed you, we had all of that white space that was around, just empty space. It doesn't understand that that empty space is empty space. It understands the edges and the ratio of that image, and all it does is it lines it up. If it's smaller than my background, it's going to expand to match, and if it is bigger than the background, then it's going to shrink to match. The ratios are what really matter when it comes to sizing. Placement is your problem. This plugin does not care about placement. Again, it is not an intelligent plugin. This is not your sports photo automation, which will find the face and place it exactly where you want it. This just takes 2 images, puts them together, saves it off. That's all it does. But it does it fast, so you don't have to. So those particular types of extractions are not going to be what we want. And just to really hit home as far as how this is not an intelligent plugin, it is just simply a workhorse. I have other images. These images, let's say that I had my camera set up and my subject missed the mark, right? I said, hey, put your toes on that line. Maybe they stood all the way to one side of that line. And so as you can see, these are all left aligned, right? So for the cutouts folder, let's go take a look. And we're just going to run this. I'm using the same background, same export folder. We're going to just see what our final results are. I'm going to let these run. And you can look just as it's processing right here that they're off center because it doesn't care about where the subject placement is. It doesn't know, it's not analyzing the images, it's analyzing the size of the image as a whole, okay? That is the most intelligent that it is. So now we go in here and we look at our export. We're going to see, well, we already saw that, except, hey, she's left aligned. Now this one, I zoomed her in more, right? I got a much closer crop because I knew that this is the thigh up layout is what I want to use for this particular extraction or this composite. But she's left of center, so this is not something that I would give to my customers as a finished product. And they're all like that. They're all left of center. She looks a little bit closer, but that's only because she has a wider stance. But overall, this is not at all what we want to deliver. And the last that I have is when you have everything centered up, it's not as big of a deal as long as your ratios match, okay? I have a 4:5 background equivalent to an 8:10, right? A 4:5 ratio. My extractions are also in a 4:5 ratio. But for this particular demo, while they're all the 4:5 ratio, they're different sizes. This particular image right here of the coach, you know, The dimensions of this image are 1800 by 2600 pixels. It's not a very big image. This one is 4000 by 6000. This one's also 4000 by 6000. This one is 7800 by 11,000. And this one's 5000 by 8000. They're all different size images. And if I look at this full size, that's 100% right there, right? If I look at this one right here, full size, that's 100% right there. It's a massive image. She'd probably take up this whole wall that I have in front of me. But it's in the ratio that we need, and the subjects are centered up like we need. And so what's going to happen is the plugin is going to load my background or my extraction, and it's going to see if that image is too small, it will blow it up until it matches the background, and then it'll save it off. If it is too big over the background, it will shrink it down until they match. And just to, seeing is believing, much like Santa Claus. All right, so we're going to go to our cutouts folder. Select our large, which is actually a combination of super large extractions as well as relatively small extractions. And we're going to run the batch. Now you can see that she's the crop that we want. She is centered up like we want. Might be smaller or too big over the background, but the tool, this automation tool, is going to size everything accordingly. And so now, if you take look at this, we have some beautiful composites that I'll be more than happy to put out there for sale for my customers. This tool is especially powerful when used in conjunction with the Face Crop plugin. Face Crop plugin is also by Pixnub. What the Face Crop plugin does, which I'll have another demo video on that as well, is it will analyze the picture, it will recognize the face, and then it'll crop that image exactly how you want it to. And you can specify how much space you want at the top, the bottom, and the sides, and it can line everything up right in the middle. So if you have 1,000 extractions of full body, whether it is students, whether it is athletes, it doesn't matter. As long as you can see a face, it'll be able to crop it how you want. Each of these images were created using that tool, using the default thigh up setting. That's a profile. You can create your own profiles because this particular profile might not work so much for buttons, which many photographers still offer for their youth sports or even for their school packages. So what you might want to do is create another profile that just adds a little bit more space at the top, brings it down a little bit so you're not getting the head or the hair cropped off. But do the extractions, use a face crop tool or some type of cropping tool so it matches your backgrounds, and then just let the background tool, the swapper tool, do all the heavy lifting for you. I've personally used this. I've probably done over 3,000 images in a single run. I know some other photographers who have run way more than that, and this tool just chugs along. I would not want to do 20 images by hand when I have a tool that can do thousands in less time than I can probably do those 20. So definitely check it out. Pixnub.com. Beautiful suite of plugins if you're doing your own post-production workflow, especially for composites. Go check them out. I highly recommend them. They are a game changer. So until next time, stay tuned. We'll have some more high-level tutorials coming your way.